SidandListen Hotline.
Ugh. Hey, Sid, I don't know. I feel all messed up. I feel like I don't fit the beauty standard at all. I feel like I'm not enough at all. I don't know what to do with these feelings. Can you help me?
The beauty standard. The one thing we're all supposed to follow, despite the fact that it changes faster than a celebrity friendship. The truth is, you were never meant to feel beautiful. Not really. Not in the way that makes you stop in front of a mirror and think, I'm enough. This is enough. No, the world had different plans for you. It wanted you starving, shrinking, chasing, dissolving into versions of yourself that never quite fit. And it made sure that the goalpost kept moving, so when you got to it, it kept moving farther and farther away from you. It was never about beauty. It was about control. But this is the lie that we were sold. Once upon a time, someone somewhere decided what beautiful looked like. And let's be clear, it's not some universal truth that we all follow. It's not science, it's not law, it's not written in the stars. It was just something that someone came up with that made them money. It was marketing, it was commerce, it was power, like Infinity Stones power. And that person that has this power has one job: to make sure that you and I don't feel like we're enough. Think about it. If beauty had a finish line, everything would collapse as we know it. What if the beauty standard never existed? It's all an illusion. The moment you accept yourself, you're gonna stop buying what they're selling, okay? And that is when everything collapses. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say that you're perfect, that everyone's perfect. This is a conversation starter. I really want to open this up because I really believe that the beauty standard never existed, and I'll get to that later. But tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that I'm trying to make this color feel better, that I'm making you feel better, myself included, about the beauty standards and how we can never really meet them or achieve them. But the beauty standard isn't a standard. It's a collection of trends dictated by history, money, whatever the algorithm is pushing this week. And the best part, it's not even based on biology, evolution, or even preference. It's a manufactured illusion. This little child, yep, that's me, enters the world and society is like another fresh one. I fell for the illusion, okay? Hook, line, and sinker. I was 14 years old, and this is such a visceral memory for me. And this is the first time I looked in the mirror and saw imperfection, and I just didn't like the way I looked. I was 14 years old in a dressing room at the mall, looking at myself in the mirror and looking at my nose, being like, oh, it's not small and petite and it's not perfect. And when I turned to the side, it had that humpity hump, which I now love. But when I was 14, I didn't look like magazine covers. I didn't look like models. I didn't look like actresses that I loved. And it made me feel that there was something wrong with me. And at 14, I was failing a test that I didn't even know I was taking. Who taught you and me that whatever was on our body was wrong? And who flipped the switch from child, happy, okay with themselves, to now I'm a project. There's something wrong with me. I need to get everything that is wrong with me fixed. And I can assure you, it's not us. If beauty standards existed, why do they keep ping-ponging back and forth? If you think about it, it is so indecisive. The standard is so indecisive. Let's start with the 14th century Renaissance period. Rubens painted his three graces: soft hips, pale skin, roles you could nap in. Tanned skin meant you were rich. Pale meant you lounged in villas, sipping wine. And big foreheads were the ultimate flex back then. But today, we'd call that stress-induced hair loss. And for that, I recommend rosemary oil. Sorry, I lost you there. Thank you so much for calling back, because I wouldn't have found a way to call you. Okay, all right. You good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's go to the 18th century Georgian era. Powdered wigs, painted faces, think Marie Antoinette vibes. Not those vibes. Tiny waists cinched in whalebone, skin white as chalk thanks to lead-based creams that ate your face off. Okay? Beauty meant decadence. Smallpox scars, cover them up with patches shaped like stars. It was less natural and more, I'm rich enough to poison myself pretty. And that was a flex. Let's go to the Victorian era. Around the 1830s, corsets crushed ribs for that 22-inch waist. Manual labor? Never heard of her. Tuberculosis gave you the consumptive glow. Imagine a Tinder date in the Victorian era. Oh, I love long walks, but sometimes I cough up blood. But that's okay, right? That's okay with you. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Kind of.
Kind of. 1920s flapper era. Corsets hit the dumpster. Boyish figures took over. Women bound their chests flat, chopped their hair, and danced in short skirts. Prohibition roared and women nabbed the vote, and rebellion was the sexiest thing on two legs. Curves were yesterday's news. Flat was freedom. Flat-chested, flat everywhere. But that's completely different from the whiplash from the 1950s and the 1960s, where Marilyn Monroe ruled the 50s, okay? Curves were back. Her hourglass curves, hips swaying lusciously. Now, she would be considered plus size. And then when the 60s hit, Twiggy was the icon. I love Twiggy. Curves went out the window, and stick thin and big eyes were in. Okay, do you see the flip-flop of how the beauty standard continuously changes? Then in the frickin' 80s, Jane Fonda in spandex, abs you could grate cheese on, legs for days. Toned was the new rich, and curves were for slackers. I think my family owned a VHS tape of Cindy Crawford from back then. I'm not entirely sure. But then it changed again in the 90s, okay? Kate Moss burst through the door and was like, Jane Fonda, your toned abs, your delicious legs gotta go, all right? Heroin chic is in. That's the term they used. It's not like my term that I use. And here comes the 2000s, all right? Low-rise jeans, so tight, they left welts. But then in the 2010s, the BBL craze came. Kim Kardashian, forget about it. Big butts, tiny waist, that was all the rage. And then, now, Ozempic.
Of Ozempic say the drug should be used to fight diabetes, but it's become all the rage with people who want to lose weight quickly. Demand for the drug has made it both pricey and hard to find. So no surprise, some people are selling Ozempic and knockoffs on the black market.
Celebrities are dissolving their fillers, taking Ozempic, trying to be as thin as possible. It's a big yo-yo. Back then, when this child was 16, 17 years old, I will put a trigger warning here. I'm not going to go in depth about it, but I did have an ED, and it was really, really difficult. It was a very difficult time because I really hated the way I looked. I was trying so hard to fit into what was in at the time in terms of beauty standards, and it was thin. It was being stick thin. And I remember we would be trading secrets of like how to not eat, but like not go crazy. And it was so unhealthy and it was so taxing to my mental state. Thank God I'm out of it. And when I look at everything now, in terms of how I looked at myself, how I perceived myself from when I was 14 to 18, 20 and on, I just want to hug that person. I just want to hug that little girl because I let trends dictate how I perceived myself, how I perceived my body, how much I loved myself, how much confidence I had, my self-esteem. Everything was tied to something that never existed. And that's what I'm proposing. I don't think beauty standards exist. I think it's wherever the money is. And this is all to showcase that. I struggled with my confidence for a very, very long time. I struggled with my self-perception for a very, very long time. And I think that one thing that helped me was realizing that everything that I believed in terms of the beauty world, the beauty standards, was all just a lie to have us chase something that never really existed, that we can never really attain. And I think once I realized that, I took a step back and was like, wait a minute. If it's changing so much, going back and forth from you should be plump and juicy to very stick thin and plump and juicy and to very stick thin, you should be healthy and muscular to very stick thin, I don't understand why we're doing that to ourselves. I don't understand why we're putting ourselves through that. And I understand that we all have our insecurities. And this is not a dig at the beauty world. This is not a dig at anyone. This is just my own thoughts and my thesis about the idea that beauty standards never existed. So if you want to get filler, if you want to get Botox, if you want to get plastic surgery, by all means do that. But don't do it for a trend. Do it because that's exactly what you want, and it's going to make you feel happy, and it's going to make you feel good about yourself, not because it's in at the time. And I think somewhere along the way, we kind of lost sight of what makes something beautiful. It's its uniqueness, right? And I want to explore that idea. So all of my ranting is basically about that, about realizing that I don't think the standard ever existed, and I think we've been following it for far too long when it's all been a lie. But I think one of the main reasons why beauty standards exist today and have to exist and dominate is because of historical power structures. I mean, these ideals are spread across the entire world. Sorry, my clavicle just popped, which is leading to the erasure of very different beauty representations. Skin lightening products are still popular in Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean. And I remember putting my first Fair and Lovely cream on my face. Okay, I was told that I was too dark. Okay, colorism was a huge thing. And I was told that I was too dark. And someone handed me Fair and Lovely. Let's actually watch this ad of Fair and Lovely.
पहले से कितनी फेयर हो गई इधर आना मेरी फेयरनेस दुगनी दोनों ने एक ही नंबर से स्टार्ट किया था ना फिर तुम आगे कैसे चीटिंग की क्या चीटिंग तो तुमने की होगी दुगना रिजल्ट चाहिए तो फेयर एंड लवली रोज लगानी पड़ती है तुम्हारी तरह नहीं कभी कभी
फेयर एंड लवली रोज लगाने से 2 गुना ज्यादा फेयरनेस पाएं।
वाओ अनबिलीवेबल क्यों रोज लगाती हूँ नो चीटिंग रिजल्ट दुगना
फेयर एंड लवली रोज लगाएं दुगनी फेयरनेस पाएं।
Someone literally told me to put that on my face and that it was going to solve all of my life problems. And did it? No, it didn't. I have many problems. Beauty pageants and Hollywood films historically promoted European features as the ideal.
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa,
Sidelining different representations. And I think that's what's missing. Unique, different representations of beauty, which I would love to see. Celebrities and influencers create beauty trends, but trends are not universal truths. The Kardashians made BBL bodies popular, but now the reversal trend has begun. Bella Hadid's fox eye trend made lifted eyes desirable, but in another decade, a different shape will probably take over. And I think, fortunately, there is more conversation centered around the idea that there's not just one beauty standard, that there's more beauty to be had than just what your beauty standard says. To really hammer it in there, I want you to consider, if beauty standards existed, wouldn't we all be attracted to the same type of person? Yet, attraction is something so deeply personal. It's not going to be the same for you and me. So it's not really a standard, is it? The fact that everyone's preferences differ so much proves that beauty isn't one size fits all. But you're probably thinking, okay, Sid, how do we get out of it? What do we do? How do we not buy into it? Ditch the mirror if you're checking it too much, okay? I kid you not, our eyes can deceive us. When we look in the mirror and our eyes and our brain are not liking things, they talk and they're like, you look like a haggard mess. In reality, you don't. I've taken pictures of myself. I've taken selfies where I'm like, what is that? Okay. And then 2 weeks later, I look at that selfie and I'm like, dang, I'm cute. But I didn't think I was cute back then. I thought I was an ogre. Another thing is wear what makes you feel beautiful, okay? Wear something that makes you feel comfortable, beautiful. When you look in the mirror, you're like, I look good, okay? I can admit that I look good. And if you don't have something like that, grab your wallet and go shopping and find something like that. And I say this with love, respect, and admiration. If you have a curvy body, I need you to go grab yourself a silky dress, cream colored, whatever you like, okay? Put a little bit of highlighter or something glowy on your shoulders and your chest. After you wear the dress, put some glow on your body, some shimmer on your body. Put your hair up in a messy updo, and if you don't have long hair, leave it in a chic bob or short or whatever. Wear a bold lip, and then pose like this in front of a mirror, or just take a picture of yourself. You're a frickin' goddess, okay? You're a frickin' goddess. Another thing that has helped me stay grounded and not feel so insecure and wrapped up in beauty trends is when I wake up in the morning, I say one nice thing about myself, even though I don't believe it at the time. And over time, it becomes a habit. So it's easier for you to say something nice to yourself than it is for you to say something mean. Daily affirmations work because they're like a steady drip on your brain. They're consistent, repetitive, and sneaky enough to sink in over time. It's not a one and done deal. It's about building a habit that rewires how you see yourself. The key term here is neuroplasticity. Your brain is able to reshape itself based on what you feed it. Think of it this way. The more you say nicer things to yourself, the easier it will become to actually believe them and understand that that is you. What you're saying, the nice things you're saying about yourself, that is you. The multi-billion-dollar beauty industry would have to evolve. I love makeup. If you want to get filler, Botox, do whatever you want to do, get it. I want you to get it because you want to, like I said before. But I feel like the beauty industry, the makeup industry, would have to focus on self-expression more rather than insecurities. So plastic surgery or fillers and Botox for self-expression and feeling confident rather than something that you're lacking. But that would also affect social media. So no filter, no being perfectly curated. It would be all about self-celebration and again, self-expression. So we go back to expressing ourselves without feeling the need to look perfect. So what's stopping us? Well, the true answer is conditioning. Thousands of years of conditioning. For centuries, we've been taught that beauty is something we earn, not something we are. The world profits off of our doubt, so we've been fed the idea that we must chase beauty rather than embody it. But the real rebellion that we can start today is by taking a step toward accepting ourselves. Not when we lose weight, not when our skin clears up, and not when we finally have our glow up. I think it's a conscious effort today, a conscious effort tomorrow, and a conscious effort from then on. And when we look in the mirror and we feel good about ourselves, that's all that matters. I would love to see a world where everyone does feel beautiful. And the question is, how do we start building that world today? If you want me to air one of your worries so we can talk them through together, call me and leave me a voicemail at this number or text me. And I will see you next time.